I figured out what happened on a previous one that I set up. I accidentally clicked automatic start, and for some reason it just automatically started. So I'm sitting there trying to adjust the lighting and stuff like that. So I put some Lippy on. People would have said putting Lippy on. Really exciting. And then I only had to go and wash off the lipstick anyway because I couldn't stand it. Okay, so we're live, and we're going to be talking about how you know if you have a haunting. So my apologies, I should say, to those who thought the stream had started earlier. It didn't. It was just a boo-boo on my end that I had begun streaming, and I was unaware. I was unaware I was streaming. So there you go. Like I didn't do anything bad.
You might be quite aware. It's funny you should say that. Like I said, you rang me just at such an awkward moment. You know, I was actually on the toilet. Yes. You rang. So I turned the camera off straight away.
You didn't have to answer. You do realise that, don't you?
Yeah, I knew there was a button to hide the camera, so I hit the button on the camera saying, "Yeah, just a minute, just a minute." I just put my shopping away.
So hello to Liz and hello to Medea. Jeff.
I can't see a chat room, and the boy has taken the phone, so I got no way of seeing the chat room today, sadly. But just in me.
Yes, he can't see the chat room. So I'm so tired today. Honestly, I'm just trying to sort of adjust and get my head around everything. I just couldn't believe the stuffing around, and all because I had selected automatic start, which meant as soon as the Google thing opened, the thing was streaming. So
wow, it could have been interesting if you're not aware you're being filmed.
I know. Lucky I was dressed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, geez, imagine.
That would be nice.
Where's technology? This is dodgy, isn't it? It really is dodgy. Yeah.
I know.
It's beautiful.
I can't even close it. I couldn't even turn it off or anything. So I had to go through making private and doing all these other things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like changing the videos to private or unlisted at least, so you can't see them. Yeah.
Annoying. I'm just going to turn this up a bit.
Bread.
Okay.
Bread in the fridge. Okay, so I'm still here. I am done just about. Just putting a tiny bit of shopping away. I'm going to sit down, smoke a cigarette, and I'll be with you. I can still pay attention and be aware of what's going on.
Okay.
It's just some shouts.
Hi,
actually made it here.
Thank you for joining. And again, apologies for the previous video. I don't know. I just started streaming straight away because I hit this little button that said stream now. Playing around with little different settings to try and get a better quality video. So what do you do? Anyway, the topic tonight is hauntings. How do you know if you have one? And
what interesting topic.
I thought it would be, I mean, we talk about it a lot, but do we really talk about the different types of hauntings? Some people just think it's just, you know, a matter of poltergeist and or residual or that type of thing. But yes, surprisingly, there are more. So we've got intelligent hauntings. These are the ones that are traditional classic hauntings. These are basically where a spirit is aware and able to interact and communicate, which we do tend to find when we have these spirit box sessions and so on. These are what we refer to as an intelligent type of haunting. Now, if I'm too loud or crackly, am I crackly?
A little bit, but it's not like you inaudible. You can understand what you're saying.
Okay, so so these are intelligent referred to as intelligent. Residual, as you know, are ones that they are known as a place of memory. Yep. Yeah. So the spirit goes about as though it's in like a trapped in a cycle, and it does the same typical walking path or reenacts it passing and that type of thing. But I wonder about those to be, I wonder about those to be honest. I mean,
I think they're rarer actually. Those types are a lot more rarer. To be honest with you, like the one at Roundway Hill. I've never actually heard it. Even though I've been to Roundway Hill like 2 or 3 times, I've never heard the bugle horn go off yet to symbolise the start and the end of the battle. I haven't actually heard that myself yet, but it's common folklore there. But I think they're quite a bit more rarer, those ones. It's almost like the Earth has recorded like a VHS tape, and it's sort of recorded a moment, whether it's actually an entity that is just going through the motions again. I have no idea, but maybe some do.
And that's the thing that I question is it actual spirit or is it like a
recording, isn't it? Like a magnetic field of, some sort of weird,
like a wormhole, like a video capture that the universe plays, but there's no actual spirit per se.
It's really, really weird.
Yeah. So that's just, we've got some comments flying up in there. Lots of hellos.
Oh,
Raven is in. Darling Ray, Liz Hall. Albert. Yes. So just a little, I just want to flick over.
Those people just reminded me. Patreon's being ridiculous and stupid. If you wish to not support on Patreon, obviously I've always said that's fine. You know, I'm never gonna put a comment back. No, you should support me. But there's this thing going on where they're switching the charges around. It used to be the content creator would absorb the charges. So like I know it's like say not a lot, as in I think it's 35 cents and 2% or something ridiculous. But that would come out of the content creator, and that's how it should be. But now they want to pass it on to the pledgers, and I think that's totally unfair. Go watch Shoot Yourselves video, it all makes sense, but I'm pretty cross about I might do a video myself because I think it's highly unfair, because what you pledge is what you pledge. However much we receive for that, it is irrelevant, you know. Even if we receive just 50% of it, it's irrelevant. It's not on. But that's a different topic. I won't turn this live stream into a Patreon stream, but just be aware, please check it, guys, and if it's something you don't want to do, that's not a problem, you know, I totally understand. But gee, that's not good. Go see Suit Yourselves Later's video and it all makes sense. That affects you too, you know, because obviously you're on Patreon as well. So
okay, and then we have what we refer to as the poltergeist hauntings. We all know about that, you know, the noisy ghost as they refer to them, and this is actually, it comes from the German word poltern, which actually means make noise, and Geist, which is ghost. So poltergeist hauntings, they usually take form of objects moved, hidden, thrown, disturbing noises, that type of thing, interference with electronics. Now, I get interference with electronics, but they're not particularly what I would refer to as a poltergeist. I just feel this is just the spirit's way of saying, I'm here. You know, I'm around. I had a situation tonight where a person that I rang, it was, first of all, I rang their mobile. I was given 2 numbers by them. The first one I rang was a mobile. Through the mobile, all of a sudden, there was like this funny noise, and it was like I could hear myself, and I thought, I wonder if they've got that on loudspeaker or something. So I said, have you got this on loudspeaker? No answer. And then I thought, okay, I picked up the phone and I'm, hello. Then it went dead. So I rang back and it played up again. So then I thought, I'll ring the landline. During the call, the dial tone went off. Whilst I was talking to them, all of a sudden there's this dial tone. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And I said to them, you're not wanting to hear from somebody, are you? Because I've never had that many things happen like, all right, with one piece of technology, like a mobile, you can have some, you know, interference or dropouts, that type of thing. That's nothing paranormal.
Have you ever heard on the mobile phone where it I don't know how to describe it. It's on YouTube, so you can Google it. I've experienced it 2 or 3 times, and the other person on the other end of the line experienced it too. I was ringing up Iceland to do a home delivery shopping. It kind of sounds like heavy breathing, a bit like alien predator sort of sounds. Quite a
Like
disturbing sound. Like I say, go on Google, on YouTube, and you know, type in weird phone call or whatever, and you'll come across many videos. Lots of people have experienced it, but it doesn't sound earthly. It's quite a disturbing sort of sound. But I've experienced that a few times on the phone, and so did the other person on the other end. And we sat and we listened, like, okay, right. It's not a nice noise. It's kind of, it's a bit unnerving actually. But like I say, you can experience this your own self by going to YouTube and just doing a bit of searching. You'll find those weird phone calls. I've experienced that exact same thing. Not lots of times, probably about 3 times, but it's all within the space of 1 week, close together. You know. But yeah, I mean, as far as hauntings go, in terms, I mean, I've got a lot of experience in this myself, because that's probably the whole reason, other than the whole Huff thing, why I ended up on bloody YouTube, because of what we experienced in 11 Cuts Close. The poltergeist thing, lots of that. Usually it wasn't big objects, or it's only like a lighter or something, just slowly, you know, sort of launched ever so slightly, or like gusts of wind. I can't really describe that. But the biggest one for us was the empty bottle of vodka that was actually launched and smashed against the wall in the kitchen. No one was in the room, but we were in the living room. We certainly heard it, and when I thought, oh my bloody god, you know. So we take it he doesn't like alcohol. Then we're just trying to sort of pieces together. So many things. I sort of wish I did better documentation on this. The static clicks you've heard me talk about, those weird clicks. The dimmer lights as well. I used to use dimmer lights for up for yes, down for no. Answer questions that way, because this is before the days of the spirit box, or at least for me. Yeah, loads of stuff, and it's certainly an intelligent being of sorts. It didn't, you know, used to do practical jokes as well, like the butter. I've told this story before, where I've made some toast and I put the butter in the fridge. I'm adamant I have, because I've got a memory of it.
Bed.
Yeah, well, kind of. I go upstairs like an hour or 2 later to go to bed, and the butter is under the duvet. Now, if that was me, or me being scatty or whatever,
One way to milk it.
why would I put the butter under the duvet? And the silly thing is, we didn't see butter float past us, you know, like in a cartoon. Yeah. Just really fucking bizarre and, you know, hilarious. And of course, as soon as we find the butter, you get the click, and the dimmer lights would go down slightly, which is, yeah. Now, I know the dimmer lights weren't faulty, because when I started coming to YouTube, it was like over a year or so since we had any contact. That dimmer light phenomenon never sort of happened after that, you know. So yeah, I can speak quite a lot on this subject and go on all night about all the you know, things we have had of a residential haunting, you know. And he certainly wasn't a residual, you know, a video recorded image going around. And of course, I've got the photo as well. Blah 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 blah. You carry on.
Well, basically, with poltergeists, so to speak, they can be the culprits when it becomes a case of, you know, incidents where, if you think about psychokinesis, when people move things with their minds, I believe that's how poltergeists work. I can't prove that, but that's what I feel. It's like they are.
Before you carry on and go on that line of thought, when I first, I was only 14 at the time. I was on the CB radio, and I met a guy called Paul Lewis, and he used to do our registration plates for Pattern Cars, which is my stepdad's business of buying and selling cars. That's how I got into cars, basically. But he was a spiritualist and into that kind of thing, and he was the one that showed me Roundway Hill when I was 14. And I wasn't, like I said, I didn't really believe in ghosts, but he told me a story once. He said about telekinesis and moving things with your hand. He said one day he was really sleepy and he had to get up for work. So it was like 7, 6 in the morning, whatever. He gets up for work and he goes to reach for his toothbrush half asleep. And instead of him going to the toothbrush comes to him. And he absolutely went, whoa, what the hell, you know, he can never do it again. Or whatever. He said, well, what happened there? Was it just because I was so tired and I engaged in a part of my mind? But he was adamant that this toothbrush not moved far, you know, only from, you know, the here to here kind of thing, moved to him. And that fascinated him heavily. Like, how did I do that? Can I do it again? He never said anything again about it, but it was a train of thought with the whole poltergeist thing, telekinesis, and all that sort of stuff. Does that sort of stuff really exist? Well, from his point of view, he's pulled it off by however he did that, you know, or so he believes. Of course, I wasn't there. I can't win to say. He could be talking utter rubbish, but you know, he spoke about it freely and a lot. And it really confusing.
I have never personally been able to move things with my mind. You know, but I've been able to move myself in as far as astral projection goes, because it is like anyone who has experienced astral projection, it's so surreal. It's like you're repeating in your mind, I want to move forward, I want to move forward, and you do. You are actually moving forward.
Going back to the tired thing and being asleep, and you know when you astral project, you are asleep. When I did my astral projection, like I say, I only got to the bathroom not very far before I freaked out because I felt I couldn't get out of the room, and Natalie woke me up because I was making some weird moaning noises. But again, going back to Paul, where he said he was half asleep and reached out for the toothbrush, it's the same thing with the astral projection. I got up because I thought I needed the loo, like really needed the loo, and my eyes were very heavy. I couldn't look up. I could only sort of look down, and I moved freely to the bathroom, and then I noticed the bathroom wasn't as it should be. You know, everything was just sort of all different proportions. It was really dark at the top, really dark at the bottom, and the door was shut behind me. I don't remember shutting the door, but I knew I couldn't open this door, even though I actually hadn't reached out and tried. And I thought, shit, I'm stuck. You know, I thought, oh my god, I think I've astral projected. Oh my, you know, I freaked the hell out of it. But the tiredness, you say you move your mind. You know, it was you're on such a tired, low level of state. You do this instinctual, and I moved to this bathroom, and I guess like Paul with a toothbrush. He didn't say, "Come to me, toothbrush." He just so tired and lifted his hand out. So it's just a low level of thinking. You know what I'm trying to say. So, command me, toothbrush, to come to me.
Well, you sort of look like Yoda with that hoodie on.
Yeah.
All right, so that typically is, well, I think that's how a lot of things are moved by spirit, because they are made up of energy, let's face it, and the energy itself can manipulate things around it. So I think it's a matter of, you know, being able to use their mind in that respect. I've made a few notes.
They don't have a mind on a cellular level. It's this consciousness, isn't it? The conscience, you know, the awareness.
Yeah. So I've made like a few notes to keep myself on track.
Yeah. Do my best.
I tend to rattle off and forget where I was talking about. But with poltergeist hauntings, they have been associated with adolescent girls. It's very common, like if they're going through adolescence. These are not limited, though. I actually feel that, you know, there is a stronger connection when it comes to adolescence, you know.
You read about the Enfield case. The Enfield case is a good study on that. That was a big one in Britain as well in the 70s, and the whole media got involved. So instead of the media not being interested, no, the media got involved and things were happening to them as well. You know, so we had actual news reporters going in there and say, oh yeah, what we got going on here. And they had ashtrays, they had all sorts of things happen to them. It was basically around these two young girls. They're either the best pranksters in the world, or you know, they had this poltergeist called
there was something.
I think it was Phill. He died of a heart attack apparently in a chair downstairs 20 years before them, and he wasn't a very nice character really. But the Enfield case, I highly suggest looking it up, and it's very fascinating to read.
The fact that they even had her put water in her mouth, and you know, that people could have, you know, like people can easily say, oh well, she spat the water out or drank that water, and then just before they turned around, got another, you know.
They must be amazing tricksters, very good tricksters, if that's the case. You know, very good.
I mean, why would a child want to, invent such a
And for that length of time as well. It went on for freaking months and months. It didn't just, it wasn't like a day, one day. This went on for a long time, this whole thing, and the media is closely...
But not only that, even the police actually saw physical movement.
Yes. That confused the hell out of them. Like, I'm a policeman, I am a trusted member of society, I'm telling you, you're going to think I need a mental institution after this, but... No,
and there were things moving around them, so you can imagine how.
They were the objects, and the objects were warm to the touch. They weren't like cold or whatever. They were like warm and you know, warmer than they should be. It's a fascinating case. You've got to read up on it if you don't know about the Enfield case. Got to do it.
It's actually the movie that's been recreated and put out. So I do recommend watching it. So where are they? The Poltergeist haunting. Sometimes it can be malicious and sometimes playful. More often than not, you've got a playful spirit when it comes to that, because it's like, oh, look at the effect I can have. Look at what I'm doing. And so they don't want to hurt them half the time because they want to play with them. It's toying with the living, if you want to put it that way. So these hauntings usually start out slowly and then they increase. So they get, you know, to a point where they reach a peak, and then just as suddenly as they begin, they can stop.
This is why with the whole Michael McGee thing, I believed him big time because, as I said in many comments, I cannot be the only person in the world that was partial to having this fucking entity that resided at our house and did all these weird things. Now, admittedly, Michael McGee, his stuff was like it was on steroids, you know. We didn't have sofas flip over and stuff. We, you know, it was usually small lights. As I said, the biggest thing we had was that smashed vodka bottle. And even the bottle wasn't big. It was only one of those little ones. My point is, it got to a plateau, and once like the acknowledgement was there that okay, you're here, you resign with us, and we said our good nights to him as well, like he's a family member or something. It started just sort of tailing off and fading out, and eventually we got nothing. You know, it was about a year and a half, you know, or maybe up to 2 years when I come to YouTube to say, you know, because I'm so pissed off with half of you, like the, you know, misrepresenting these things that do actually happen. And then I find Michael McGee, I'm like, oh, Jesus, you know, there you go. This shit has happened. And he's moved from house to house to house to house, and it's still going on strong. I'm thinking, wow.
So then you think to yourself, okay, it's not an environment haunting. It's an attachment to the individual.
This is another thing. It could be Natalie, it could be the land, it could be the house. But the fact is, Michael was proven to be an utter fraud at the end of this. He'd been faking it. Now, I always wanted to know, was it a case of actually, no, at the start, he wasn't faking it. He had all this stuff going on. But naturally, when you start putting it out there, you're going to get a bit of infamy and fame. And you don't want it to end. You know, it's like a fairy tale story. You don't want it to end. So did he just try and keep it going? Is that what happened as it faded? He wanted to keep up. Or was it a fraud from the start? We'll never know the answer on that.
I mean, I don't want to say that, yes, he's a complete and utter fraud or anything like that. I don't want to say that because I'm not there and I can't say.
I'd like to think
in my own circumstances.
Just wanted to keep it going. That's what I'd like to think. I'd like to think he did have something, and it just faded out because these things do fade out, you know. That's what I'd like, you know. And I think. Well,
look, I don't have activity every single day. That's a reality. You don't have them, you know, completely, you know, in your face all the time. There are a couple of times where I don't even feel Chris around, you know, and I'm thinking, oh, has he done the flip? You know, he's gone, and then all of a sudden, just when you.
We'd have weeks apart of no clicks or no dimmer lights or whatever, but he would get hold of us when he wanted to talk. Like when it's at night time, we get in bed, we hear the click. Oh, hello, Charlie. Blah 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 blah. You know, he'd get hold of us rather than us get hold of him. If that makes sense, you know. But yeah, we'd have gaps too, of course.
That's fine. Yeah, and you can't force them. I don't force. The last time I was put in my place by Chris when I said to him, when I was testing that X cam, I said, can you please stand in the door so I can see if this works? And he straight out said, I'm not an effing dog. And that's when I knew I pushed my boundary. So, I mean, before that, I hadn't heard him swear. So that sort of took me aback a bit, you know, to think that I had. Yeah.
This is kind of what happened with us in 12th Hour. There's I don't know if they're still about, I don't know if you want to Google them, whatever, but 12th Hour were a paranormal stroke business stroke show. They're on TV. And we didn't know what we had going on at the time. You know, this is a bit beyond us. Remember, we didn't believe in ghosties and stuff like that. So they said they would help us if they could film and stuff. And they come in, they had a medium. And that's how we were called, because we thought it was called Charlotte originally, because we didn't want to, we'd made our own Ouija board up, and we did it. And we asked what the name was, and Charl. And then someone, oh, Charlotte. Yes. So he pretended to be a girl for a bit, being quite playful. But the medium said, no, his Charlie's from one of the World War I's or Twos. He doesn't like to talk about his death, so don't ask about that. And she gave us all this information, and at the same time, she was taking pictures all around the house, and she was showing us all these orbs she caught. And they said, well, we want it because you've had this service for free. We want, in return, we want to do a documentary on your house, along with another couple of other houses as well that we've been to. And we said, okay, fair enough. And on the very last day, well, we stitched them up. And the reason why we stitched them up, we sort of had to think about it. We thought, well, hang on a minute. If this is a so-say dead person, how would you feel if suddenly, you're being put on show or whatever? I mean, a bit of a hypocrite, really, because I'm doing my spirit boxes and doing exactly that anyway at the end of it. But I don't know. At the time, it felt a lot more closer contact than a damn spirit box. It was more impersonal, more invasive. So we felt like maybe it was a bit too much to. And plus, as well, we were worried that either we'd be ridiculed for this and made a laughing stock, or the opposite would happen: we'd become a fucking tourist attraction and have everyone knocking on our door every 5 minutes. And we didn't. We were quite antisocial back then. We certainly didn't have Facebook, and still don't have Facebook. We were quite closed off from the world back then. So yeah, it's a very bizarre time. But there was a point to this. It was to do with what you just said. So you carry on. I'm getting off track again.
That's why I have to write notes. Okay, so and just to answer a question that was in the live stream by Crimson Angel Paranormal, do I do spirit boxes? Yes, I do. I prefer not to be honest, but I do. I do them. I feel like they are great when you've got external spirits, the ones that are outside of the location. And also when, like my clients like it as well, because they get an opportunity to audibly interact with, and they can hear responses.
I'm not sensitive to stuff at all. They have to practically shout in my ear. Sometimes I get a weird vibe at times, but other than that, I have no senses. So they're very useful for people like me. And like I say, sometimes my sessions are really good. People like NMPI will cover my sessions when I've got a damn good one. It's pretty obvious the contact is there. They wouldn't say those kind of words and all the rest of it and all the validation. But other times it's dead. It just sounds like a radio going round. It really, really does. Well, not every.
I have to laugh when people write, "It sounds like a radio." Well, yeah, that's what a spirit box is. It's a broken radio, where it doesn't actually stick on a channel. It can, but they're designed to sweep. But anyway, yes, I do the spirit boxes. I actually found that I get more now because there was actually a comment I read earlier today on one of the older ones when I started, like, just for the hell of it. I took a EXB7 down to a cemetery, and the thing was on the front of my driver's seat, and I was asking any spirits that were present, because as I got to this cemetery, the gates were closed. I wasn't about to break in or anything, so out of respect, I just sat in the car park and did this spirit box session. And ones were coming through talking about suicide and how, that they felt stuck and stuff like that, and talking about how they did it, which was quite, confronting, especially when you're hearing it through that, because here I was. I mean, this is the thing too, when you can hear spirit, you'll get times where you feel disorientated. You're actually hearing them, and then about a second later, you're hearing another voice coming through the spirit box saying exactly the same word. So it's sort of like an echo, but in a different voice. Yeah, but it's in a different voice, and that's the weird thing, is you might hear a male talking in your ear, and then through the spirit box is a female's voice saying the same thing. And I've even had them say, "What's happened to my voice?" Because when they're manipulating or voice hijacking, which is what I prefer to call it, the spirit box, they're manipulating that sound to create their reply. And sometimes don't be mistaken that a female's voice is a female, because it may very well be a male that is talking, and the only voice they've got to manipulate happens to be female. So
yeah,
that's where you would say, are you male or are you female, to verify, because they've got to use whatever voices they've got to work with. And it's the same with us, you know, like our voice box only has a certain vibration, or, you know, to work with. So we manipulate that in a sense, you know. So that's how with spirit boxes, I don't always count them as being, okay, if you're hearing a female, it's definitely a female. If you're hearing a male, it's definitely a male. However, on that note, there have been cases where for the page on Facebook, I've gone down to a cemetery, sat there, called out the names that people were asking to hear from, and I kid you not, I might call out 3 or 4 female names, and in that time, females will only respond. When I call out a male's name, a male responds. So with that said, these are things where you've got to ask questions, leading questions, to get a validation that this is who it is that, you know, you're asking for. But I love the spirit box because of the fact, the advantages that everyone has in being able to communicate with the other side. Apps in particular, you know, there are some that I'm wary of, and others that have just blown my mind. I've even had, and you probably had seen on my channel, that I will ask the spirit to rate the app. And the EchoVox hands down got 10, they said. So out of 10, they got 10. That was, you know, pretty impressive. And that was straight through. That was just, you know, asking the questions from the beginning to the end, straight through. Didn't turn it off, didn't layer anything or anything like that, because there's no need to. It just comes through the EchoVox and they manipulate that. So, yeah, really good. And now we have Medea, who says, spirits drain my phone during the night to get my attention. I sleep with my phone fully charged, so when I wake up, it's a dead phone. And now and then it means...
They use electric energy, take energy from, you know, devices. Like, you often go to an active location with a torch, and a torch, even though you know you've got a brand new Duracell in there, suddenly starts getting flat rather quickly, which is unusual for that to happen. You know.
Yes and no. You know, there is times where there are apps running in the background of phones that can use up battery. I don't put it all down to being paranormal. And even with batteries, when you're going on location, look at it this way. If you're in a colder climate, the battery's going to use up faster. Yeah. Okay. I know that when I was doing photography, I had to put my batteries that were fully charged into a thermal bag just to retain battery power. So if you're going on location, I would recommend get yourself one of those cool bags, the thermal insulated ones, or a little esky, something that is going to retain the temperature around that battery, because otherwise, if you go into a colder environment, it's not physically a spirit draining your battery, because they're energy anyway. They don't really need any energy. You know, people put down things to help them with energy. I will put down a natural source of energy being a candle. That's it. That's all they really need. But apart from that, you really don't need batteries to, you know, get a spirit using your energy, so to speak, because they are energy. That's the thing. They are pure energy. So they've probably got more energy inside of them than a battery. The Duracell ghost, if you want to put it that way. But no, they don't really need to drain batteries. You'll probably find that it's most likely cold areas, having a camera set to long recording and stuff like that. Sometimes if a battery has been overcharged, it can die faster, especially if it's a rechargeable battery. You can, overcharge.
They're never as good as the actual Duracell throwaway ones. I know that.
Exactly. Exactly. But with mobiles, I've actually discovered that behind the scenes, if you really want to test out your mobile, make sure that it has been overcharged. Some people who leave their mobile on their charger all the time and then take them off the charger find that they will go through their battery a lot faster in their phone. That's because the Wi-Fi signals and the signals and everything like that with, behind the scenes apps are always working. You might have a signal go out and it's bringing in messages and so on. The only way to really thoroughly test it is turn off all those apps going behind the scenes.
If you hit airplane mode, you won't have any Bluetooth or anything like that going on. Say
put it on airplane mode, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your mobile data, and then see how long your battery lasts, because a lot of it's going to be either that you've overcharged it. I've done it myself. I've actually had my mobile sitting on its charger, gone out, and within an hour it's flat. You know.
Yeah.
So you just got to be careful that you're not overcharging it as well. And then if you are, having it sit beside you all night long, it's still got things going in the background. So I wouldn't cross that off until you've done a few tests. But they can manipulate phones. I can tell you that now from my own experience. Like that time when I picked up the phone and it had no more. I couldn't record. I couldn't do anything because there was no space, and I had the most basic of iPhones. So there was no space, and I looked. I thought, what the hell? There's no space to record, so I thought I'll delete a few things. I had a look, and there's this weird image that came on the screen, and then I realized this was something recording itself. And so I've got that up on the channel, so if you want to have a look at that, Ghost records itself on iPhone. That is pretty amazing. So we go back to some of these. So we've got the residual haunting, which is it's a repetitive type of, like, for example, somebody's death, pacing the floor, noises without visuals.
The bugle horn.
Footsteps, You can hear footsteps and nobody's connected to these footsteps, but they happen at a certain time, So again, you've got to do a ruling out process. You've got to make sure that you are ruling out, that it's not the floorboard settling. It's not possums in the room.
This is one of the problems we have with our old house. It's a damp house, remember? So a lot of the noises that we had and creaks and groans and whatnot, we had to like almost triple check. Hang on a minute, we say, oh God, is that him or her or whatever it is? Like no, that's a regular noise. We know the house is damp in the summer or when the central heating's on, which is terrible anyway. Things expand, and obviously create noises. But the things that really were him, and we can guarantee, were the static like clicks, because they sound sometimes like they're right next to you or in the middle of the thin air, and they're not just that loud. I mean, I've caught a couple of clicks on my YouTube videos in the early days. And never since, but the ones he's doing, they're quite loud. I can't really describe it. It's like a pop, a click, or a pop. And if you take a picture in that direction, you'd usually get orbs and stuff, And obviously that's how we caught that. And the $1 million picture, as I like to call it, the flukiest one ever. I don't think I'll ever get anything like that again. It was just a loud click, and we took a picture, and we got what we got, which is what I'm using as my avatar at the moment. So yeah, but that's how anyway. With houses that are settling And if you've got, especially got damp or whatever, you know, things do expand and they will creak and go. And houses, even though they're not moving like a car, obviously, they still make noise. You know, you'd be surprised.
Because of the temperature. I mean, in the warmer day, you're going to have, what is it? I think, what is it? Expanding in heat and shrinking in cold. So you're going to have the floor, the boards in the ceiling. You're going to have tiles expanding and then shrinking. You know, it all is to accommodate, you know, some people, they really let it get to them to the point where it's like, oh my God, I'm haunted. I've got things that are making the same noise every night. And they could classify that to be a residual when it's not. So it's important to see what the weather's like as well. Take into account the weather, take into account the time.
Stay skeptical.
And this is why people... Sorry?
I said, stay skeptical, people. There's nothing wrong with being skeptical. Don't think you're being an arsehole.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with being skeptical. You've got to sit on the fence. You've got to question things. You can't just, you know, I mean, you could drive yourself batty if you take every single bump in the night to be paranormal. You know, and especially if you're a parent, you're going to instill that in your children. Your children are going to be, you know, walking on eggshells thinking, oh, we've got ghosts, we've got this, we've got that. And then they become paranoid adults. So it's really important to question things. Don't just take everything as being that's golden archer type of stuff. That is just set in stone with concrete, you know, we've got this haunting. Because that's why when you actually go on a investigation, a proper one, you will record the weather, you will record the time, you will record the atmosphere around you. Was it a noisy environment? Was there traffic nearby? Was there any, you know, other people outside of the group present? How many were talking at once? You know, that type of thing. And also what's really important to note is what has been worn, because there is sometimes when you're on a investigation, the rustling of clothes can give off sounds that sound very similar to EVPs, because our ears are always trying to listen out for voice.
Ideally, you want to set your EVP recorder like on a ground somewhere rather than holding it. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I keep away from it.
As well. Stay away from the DR60. I'm not saying EVPs cannot come on the DR60. That's one that Huff uses and many other people use, but it is flawed because of the internal mechanism is what it's recording. Exactly. Like I say, that doesn't mean to say you can't get EVPs on it. It means a lot of EVPs will be false flags, is what I'm trying to say. You know,
the DR60 actually has like an increased part of it where it increases the volume to extract, if you will, or grab any sound. So what happens is, as it increases its, you know, its mic or amplifies its mic, you're getting more of the direct mechanism sound inside. That's why they put it off the market. They found it. So the
typists and receptionists, you know, they make a quick note and then type it up. It wasn't meant for ghost hunting, but obviously they complained about how, you know, noisy and all these weird sounds that are coming through. You know, what the hell, you know? It wasn't ghosts going, "Hey, I'm here," you know, whatever. It's the internal mechanism, just grunting away.
Exactly, and that's the thing with these recorders. You can use a simple iPhone or a simple recording app on your phone and use that with airplane mode, especially when you're on location. Sometimes you can get that buzzing sound when a call's coming through, and that could give you this, you know, oh, something's, you know, interfering with the K2 meters and stuff like that.
Yes.
You can't have you can't have any type of mobile activity if you've got K2 meters out, or even the oh god, I can't even think of their names.
The K2 on its own is a bit useless. You want to use it in conjunction with other things, you know, as another verification, you know, on top of. If you use it on its own, you could probably get a lot of false answers, you know. But, oh, there's a ghost here, K2's going off. Well, where are you? I mean,
look, I'm not going to dismiss them completely. They are very good.
With me and Paranormal X out in Roundway Hill, the reason why Roundway Hill's K2 is so prominent is because there's no power lines there, there's no mobile phone masts there, everybody's phone was on flight mode as well. You know, there's nothing. I know the Earth can generate K2 as well, but not like that, if that makes sense. People probably know what I'm about.
I can't understand is some of those ones with the K2 meters, they stick a coin in them, or they hold onto the actual button that turns it on, and it's so easy. I mean, if you watch what was it, Ghost Hunters International or something, they actually hold the K2 meter. I'll see if I've got one around. No, I haven't.
Yeah, I've not heard of it before. What's the point in doing that then? What's that meant to achieve?
Well, all you've got to do is put a little bit of pressure on that button that you turn it on, and it can flicker the light. So it doesn't have to be. Yeah, they can do it themselves. And I've noticed that a few times.
So I got my K2 meter. What am I meant to be doing?
Right, so see that bit where you turn it on?
Yep. You can't see.
You press. So you press that center. If you hold that in, okay, now just sort of like move your finger off and on it. See how its light is coming on?
Right. Yeah. Make up your own.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got a ghost.
Yeah, so that's what a lot of these, you know, shows do. They keep their finger on it. And they sort of like just put a bit of pressure on, and it causes it to trigger. And it looks like, you know, the only way you will get proper, undoubtable, if that's even a word. I'm making up words now. This is the dictionary of Karen. The only way to really use those is put them down or hold them out without your finger on that button. Hold the sides, you know, so that way there is nothing manipulating that manually by you. I had a fantastic response when I was down at the old fort, that fort down in Sydney, and there was a tunnel, and now there was nothing electrical around. It was like out right above the ocean, so right on the cliff face, if you want to put it that way, and there's this old fort, completely abandoned, but they sealed up the tunnel entrances so that no one could go in there, because obviously there are bits falling down. No one, you know, if they go in there and it happens to collapse, God help them. So this particular area is where I had this spirit, and I even put on the, you know, just for the hell of it, I thought I'll go on a live stream with Facebook. And so I had the live stream running, and I thought I'll put on the spirit box, nothing else to do. So I stuck on the spirit box and I said, okay, what do you want? What is it you need, or what is it you want? Something to that word. And they said angel. So they wanted an angel. So I actually had the K2 meter with me, and I held it out, and the thing was off the charts. You know how your thing was just doing it like that when you were pressing on it? Well, it was like that, and I didn't even have my finger on that button. They could see literally that it was just going, and then I said, okay, can you move away? Can you move back? And as soon as I said, can you move back, it went off, like it stopped. And then I said, okay, can you step forward? As I stepped forward, it started flashing again. So that was solid proof there was communication going on. Yeah. And you can't say, oh, that's just coincidence. The weird thing is, when you've got EVPs in particular, one thing I found with those is if you're in an area where there are planes going by, I don't know why or how it is, but I don't know whether anyone else can, you know, state from their experiences. But what I find is when a plane is around, the amplification of that EVP is more. It's as though that noise has produced somewhat of a white noise amplification.
Hmm.
Sorry?
The hum of the jet, you mean, like from a distance? Yeah. I say, like, if you run bath water or have a constant, like your fridge as well, your fridge humming, that's meant to increase what they can use or amplify these sounds.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's what was happening. It was amazing. So I had ones where I mean, there's a really active cemetery in Sydney, and I love going there because right beneath that. No, not the necropolis. That is a very active one, but the other one is actually right on the ocean, and you can just walk to this edge of this cliff, and it's just a complete drop right into the water, and it's near the Indian Ocean, so the Indian Pacific, I should say. But this particular cemetery, I always get activity without fail. There is always interaction. I had a case where there was a spirit who said her name was Lisa, and I said, okay, lead me to where you are, or you know, like she basically said, Lisa. I repeated that. I had people with me from the page, from the Facebook page. Now, in all this cemetery, which is still quite a large, congested type of cemetery, this spirit just kept calling me in one direction. So I'm following the voice. I couldn't see her. I could just hear her. So I'm following the voice. And I must have walked about, maybe 10, 20 minutes. And then I heard her say, over here. And she was like, over on this side. So I turned, and then I said, where are you? And she said, here. And as soon as she said here, I turned, and I kid you not, right in front of me is this grave with this name, Lisa, on it. Okay. And this most beautiful, beautiful lady, her photo was there. I thought, wow, she was a glamour, a real beautiful person. That's the first time I'd ever seen that grave. I mean, there are thousands of graves in this particular location, and they're all congested. They're all really tight, you know, in that area. I mean, you'd have to know exactly where it is, but to have that voice saying their name, Lisa, recorded, and then having it actually come to a point where the thing's right in front of me. Wow, I was blown away. Oh, thank you, Springtrap. She's sweetie. So I'm glad that you're liking this episode. I want to move on talking about more of spirit activity. So as I mentioned with residual haunting, we go back to that. I just want to sort of like cover more of the basics of it. What I've got here, I wrote, they're not direct communication with the living. It's like they're unaware of the living. The residual hauntings are ones where it's like that role, it's like a film replaying over and over, and they're not aware of you. So you can never really interact with a residual haunting. That's number one. Some people, being more sensitive, can observe these hauntings. They typically occur in older buildings, homes, and also battlefields. And it is possible for some historical research of a location to determine the event that might have caused that haunting. So, for example, if you've got like that, where you went to that location. Or you think about the battlefields in America and so on, where they've actually heard the gunshots, they've heard what sounds like cannons and that type of thing. And
we had the gunshots as well. We had the gunshots as well.
Exactly. So that would be considered a residual.
Yeah.
So the thing is, though, with those residual, you probably will not be able to interact with them. When people say, oh, you can go now, or the war is over, they're not going to know that because they're still in that limbo. It's like it's not actually the spirit themselves, it's a snapshot in history. It's like, as I mentioned, like a wormhole where things are happening. What's this? My little one's over in Perth at the moment, so I'm sort of like, checking the phone every now and then. I've got, hang on. I've got messages coming. Hang on. What are they showing me?
Okay. So I'm just trying to do my hair a little bit more presentable.
They're showing me what they had for lunch.
Okay. That's the cool hip thing to do now. Take pictures of your food.
I know. Why would you take pictures? It's like, look at what I'm going for a digestion.
People do. They take pictures of them. You have no idea why or what about.
Oh, okay, you've got to see this. Hang on. What's that? That's Perth.
Okay. That's pretty.
That's Perth.
That's pretty.
Yeah. I think that must be out of the plane window.
Yeah.
Oh, God. They're sending me. Wait. Look. It's not even going to focus. Focus. There.
Come on.
It doesn't do it justice.
No, a picture won't do it, and all these kind of things, The picture won't.
No, not over.
When you investigate yourself and video it, put it to YouTube, but it's never going to be the same as actually being there, is it?
Oh, there we go. There's my little one. She's at she's at her grandmother's house, so that's from their window in their living room. Yeah, they've got a beautiful view all over Perth. So you sit at her lounge room window and you can see right out over Perth City. So it's her lounge room.
Where's
really nice.
Liz? Where's Liz live? Where does she live? She in that area?
Yeah, Liz lives in Perth, I believe. The reason that my daughter's over there, they're actually staying at her grandmother's place because she's in palliative care at the moment. So not good.
Yeah.
And it's happened so rapidly, so suddenly. So let me go back to this. So as I mentioned, in regards of residual hauntings, it's not common to be able to interact with the actual spirits because they're not physically spirits.
No.
It is like a replay kind of thing. Intelligent hauntings, as we have known, are these interactions and communications that have with the living, so with spirit boxes and so on. These spirits that want to get attention of the living, they can actually move or hide objects, send signals, they can even speak, and of course they can also appear in the ghostly form, which what we are accustomed
manifestation.
to. They usually appear during late hours, like late night hours. These are the intelligent hauntings. So those that are actually feeling that there's more presence. Usually, I look at it this way, and that was a common scenario with intelligent hauntings, that they are nightly occurrences, but these can also happen during day. Often you'll find that with some of the spiritual interactions, you will be like with your mind elsewhere. You'll be doing something where it just catches you off guard. And this is usually how they will interact with you. So you're not exactly, you don't have to do anything. Yeah. But it is when you're caught off guard, which is what I have found. Of an evening, the reason why we experience it more of an evening is because our bodies are more relaxed. If you think about, the sleeping or the waking state of you getting up in the morning, that's pretty much what it's like for a medium. You're in that dazed kind of, that's the only way I can like being in a daze type of thing. Your senses are a lot more heightened. You're going to notice things, and then your mind begins to question. It begins to try to put things or piece things together. I don't know whether anyone in the chat has actually noticed, sometimes when you open your eyes after a sleep, you'll notice what looks like ghostly images. You might have what looks like a book floating with a pen beside it. You might have a visual of what looks like a spider that's hanging down, and as soon as you begin to focus on it, it runs up onto the wall and disappears. Little things like that. Yeah, this is all part of, you know, spirit in some form, and some spirits will actually present like spiders, or they might look like something moving across the wall, like a mist type of thing. And when you begin to focus, it's when you begin to focus on them that they seem to rush off or they disappear. So that's another thing. So let's see if there is anyone in chat that actually has had that. Okay, not yet. Some of them are just saying hi to each other. Okay, so then we go on, as I mentioned, to the poltergeist hauntings. I'm going to skip past that. We're going to go to the demonic hauntings, which is everyone's favorite.
Yeah, why is that, I wonder?
Well, demonic hauntings are supposedly demons that are there to break down your free will. So they can take over and often possess the individual. They can be very deceptive, evil spirits that enter a home or location. I refer to them as asshole spirits, as you know. But they're not, they're sort of like greater than a demon per se. They're not like, you know, I feel like they're just disgruntled male, like not so much male either, but human spirits that are disgruntled. They're upset with the way that their life is. They don't want to move on. So with that, they will just, you know, make everyone else's life miserable. They can appear similar to poltergeist hauntings, and they start out with slight disturbances, such as knocking noises, furniture being moved. Demons may appear. Sorry?
Growls. About growls.
Growling, yeah.
Over here. And my wife was thinking it was me snoring, because I do snore really bad. But when she was like checking and looking, she had to growl again, but it was away from me, you know. So she's like, okay, we've got a growl.
It wasn't you?
No, it wasn't me.
So, okay, so Phill is a demon. So with that, yep, knocking noises, furniture being moved. The demon may appear as a dark shadow. A lot of times people associate dark shadows with negative because of the fact they're dark.
I used to get this lot of Charlie. Oh, he's only trying to make your life bad or whatever, or he's going to get you or whatever because he's black. And I'm like, well, he's had a decade to kill us or fuck us over. He hasn't yet, so he's playing a long end game. You know,
that's it. You can't judge them on color. I've had, you know, those ones that were here before when I had to go through that constant cleansing. They weren't dark. They were actually like white swirling mists. I think I mentioned it on a live stream. I could see this swirling kind of, it was like that. It was like that, just swirling. And they would look like funnels of swirling light. You know, it was so weird. And yet that was it, you know. And I thought, wow, you know, the way that they just had so much generated fear that I had from that. I didn't even want to get off the live stream because I thought, God, what's going to happen as soon as I turn off this camera? Is something going to happen? You know, it's just that unknowing feeling and the fear that built up, and I thought maybe I'm just getting a bit too paranoid with it. But I was worried. I was absolutely worried sick of what was going to happen because it was just something so different to what I'm used to. These spirits, they can actually make you feel very vulnerable, very weak. They can also cause you illness. They can make you feel drained. They can actually, sometimes from what they say, they can not only possess people but also animals. So animals that are quite friendly can suddenly turn against their owners or their, or the children, whatever. They can bring about foul odors. They can cause extreme temperature changes. Like one minute you might be feeling, like if you're an old woman like me and you've gone through menopause, which thank God, hallelujah, I'm out, I'm over. You get these hot and cold flushes. But with these, that's what it's like, and men can go through it as well. Men can have that kind of experience. If one minute you're feeling okay, next minute you're sweating profusely, and there's no reason for it. Because they can not only cause cold spots, they can cause hot spots. So bear that in mind. When a demon actually senses someone feeling fear, that actually makes them stronger. It appears to be that they absorb that as a form of, like a bully, if you think about it. Bullies will only bully you if they see that you're getting a reaction from it. So it makes them feel more power, if that makes sense. So it's not like power as in strength, but power as in, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm really having an effect. I can do whatever I want now because I can break this person. And that's what they aim to do. They can speak in tongues, so they don't necessarily have to be of an English-speaking sound. You might hear different sounds, different languages around you. If you're doing a spirit box session and you've got different languages coming through, just question it. Always say, in the name of Jesus, I ask you to identify yourself, and that way you can have them identify who they are. I mean, they're not going to fight with the words of God, like Jesus, so to speak. So sometimes...
So I wonder why I say fearful of that, but that...
Because he's pure. It's because he's so pure.
Because you're not God, obviously. I'm not God. I'm not Jesus.
No.
So
no.
In the name
but if you
Christ,
say, I command you to identify yourself in the name of Jesus Christ, what you're doing is using a powerful... It's like the most purest words in the world are Jesus and Christ. These are the most purest. God is also pure, but the thing is, with Jesus, he died for the world's sins. So they know the strength that he has, because he died as a physical form, but he still lives as a spiritual form. And so, But anyway, with individuals that do get possessed, they become a shell of their former self. They become terribly cruel to others that they love. They basically are never really the same. Even after the possession is gone, they are never truly themselves again, because there's a part of themselves that has been taken over to the point where it's been destroyed, if that makes sense to you. So it's like never being able to get back a certain sensation or a certain taste for something. It's gone. Once it's been abused by the spirit, it's completely gone. That's why there is some of these shows that I'm very wary about them being possessed, because if that's the case, they wouldn't be able to get back their faculties. You know what I mean? Yeah. It would be... they would never be the same individual. There would be something completely missing. It's like, when, how can I put it? Some people, when you look in their eyes and you just see like they're dead. There's no life in their eyes. There's no glistening. There's, it's like it's dull and that type of thing. So it's the same when a person is possessed. If you look at their eyes, and their eyes look as though their pupils are really tiny, they're withdrawn. Even if you shine a light in a person's eyes when they're possessed, their pupils should not dilate or expand or anything like that. So there should be no reaction to the eyes. That's the way to tell if a person's really possessed. Get a flashlight, and if their pupils adjust or whatever, then you know they're having you on. So that's one way of having a check. These types of hauntings with demons, they're not easily resolved, and they do require exorcism. So this is where you would seek out a proper authorized person to deal with that type of stuff. Now, I'm going to talk about different types of spirits that can be haunting your home. Firstly, the poltergeist. So again, we go back to the poltergeist. Some referred to as I mentioned, the noisy ghost. That's what poltergeist stands for. We look at the poltergeist as being troublesome because they feel like they're invincible, they're powerful, they're not demons, they're just very mischievous, and they have an attitude. You know, it's like I'm all that matters type of attitude. So these are some part of, you know, different types of spirits there. We look at the lady in grey. The lady in grey. How often do we hear about the lady in grey, or the lady in white, or the lady in green, or blue, or red, or, you know, these usually apply to a characteristic of the apparition. The lady in grey or the lady in white is very common as it begins to manifest. It's visual. It's like a it's seen floating down corridors, but it's actually not so much a dress per se, because the dress is not a spirit. It is what is the spirit thinking they're wearing, because they may have been buried in a certain attire. And just think about it, clothes are energy, and they form a part of that energy of the individual. So if you were to, let me put it this way, if you were to say die now and your spirit appears, would you be thinking of what you're wearing? No. You'd be thinking of just who you are, without the conscious effort of knowing what you're wearing type of thing. So what people see is just the energy, and the energy emits what looks like clothing. Many times I will see spirits that appear either uniformed or wearing some type of attire, but then when I say, are you aware of what you're wearing, all of a sudden that changes. Whatever their attire is, it changes, because that's something many of them aren't asked. Are you aware of what you're wearing? So you could ask that and see what happens. So anyway, there is the lady in grey, very typical. I don't know whether anyone's heard of the boot or butt. The butt is a ghost. Okay. It's restless. Okay. It has to carry on. It's like, I don't want to go to heaven. It's a very restless type of spirit. Sometimes they can actually be at a funeral, but not liking themselves. You know, it's sort of like they call it the boot, or and I'll pronounce it as BHOOT. Boots normally look human, but they take the form of almost any animal. They frequently haunt houses, and the term boot bungalows or boot bungalows, bangalows are used in India as an example. These describe the places where these spirits called boots are actually around. Now, one thing that is interesting about the boot spirit is their obsession with milk. If they want to immerse themselves in milk, the boot contaminated. Yeah, they're obsessed with milk. And so this is why, in some cultures, they actually put out offerings to spirits. Sometimes they'll put like a cup of milk or a bowl of milk. And what they do is the burnt-contaminated milk, they say, is a usual path to burnt-possessed humans. So burts dislike the ground. They'll take measures to avoid touching it. Burts have feet that point backwards, and they don't cast any shadow. So they're actually, it's said that they have a fear of iron objects and the scent of turmeric. So if you burn turmeric, this can eliminate any potential boot spirits in your home or location. Okay. So, yeah, some of these are seen to be like alien-looking, if you want to put it that way, where their feet are facing backwards.
Yeah.
But they don't touch the ground. They don't touch it. Then we have the tikoloshi. Tikoloshi are small water spirits. They can completely vanish into drinking water. Almost exclusively, tikoloshis are summoned by someone to scare and harass others. They are typically offending with witch doctors or the equivalent. I'm just reading these notes. It's usual path to troubles with tikoloshi. Another witch doctor is usually able to unsummon the spirit and this is in Zulu mythology. Nanga will be performed in these cases. Another way to defend against tikoloshi is to put a brick under each leg of the target's bed. This protects the target while they rest on the bed, and no others in the household can be touched. So there we go. There's another spirit. I bet you've not heard of any of these. The defu...
You ever heard of Santa Morta? Or
Santa Morta.
Yeah, the Mexican, in Mexico, when they deal drugs and stuff, they pray to this entity called Santa, I think it's Santa Mort or whatever, the Lady of Death, to make sure their packages arrive to their destination and stuff. And a lot of hardcore Christians, they'll go around to these places. Because it's a big booming business in Mexico where they have these statues of Santa, whatever her name is, I'm pronouncing it wrong, I know I am. And they'll go in and say, look, you should hand over your faith to Jesus and God, not this, evil thing. Yes, your packages are getting there, but it's causing much problems via your packages getting there, you know what I mean? It's obviously, addiction, all the rest. But Santa Morta, or I think that's what I could be pronouncing that wrong. But
so you never know. I might even have it on the list.
Just pray to that one. It could go through.
Well, these ones are spirits. These are particular spirits. This one is called defueling. Defueling are ghosts that have been bound to certain places. And this binding might be natural, such as a defueling ghost haunting a location it has strong ties to in life, and may be unnatural, such as the unwelcome invention of somebody else. It's believed that chanting hum, 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 you say hum, hum. It's very basic mantra, okay? This is a foundation in prayers and spells that can be offered in a form of protection of the defueling class entities. Keeping the lights, especially red candles, on the window, better still outside the house, is another method of preventing association with these spirits. As it happens, a lot of these practices recommend the feng shui alignment to many of these defenses. So when you've got good feng shui in your home, which is like if you have a mirror facing the front door, for example, it is said that if you've got a mirror facing the front door, it means luck comes in, it goes straight back out again. If you have the back door in line with the front door and there's no maze to get to it, that's bad feng shui. It means that luck goes in the front door and out the back door. So you've got to have.
Because yeah, that's exactly how my house is. For a minute, I thought, oh, bonus! I got some good feng shui. So I got. Damn. Okay,
no,
carry on.
you're gonna have to put some barrier there or something to sort of like keep it in there. Probably put a mirror so that it's facing like into the home, so it goes into the other rooms. So it's sort of like doing a roundabout. I mean, eventually you'll have luck come in and luck go out, but you want to maintain it as long as you can. With my home, I've actually, when we built this place, so it was actually an old place, then we pretty much pulled it down and began building it like into its old heritage style. So we got the front door originally, which was in line with the back door. We moved it over, and we've got the back door over onto the opposite side of the back of the house type of thing. So you've got to go out through the laundry to get into the backyard. So we deliberately changed it because we got this person out to do the feng shui and gave all these tips and everything, things that I had never even known before. I was like, wow, you know, so it worked. It was really good. So this is one little thing. When we have the Phi Tai Hong, the Phi Tai Hong are ghosts who have died suddenly or unexpectedly. Tend to be the case when deaths are violent, of course, horrible, sometimes murder. These are one of the hardest entities to get rid of, like in exorcism. The worst incarnation of Phi Tai Hong is a Phi Tai Hong Tong Glom or Phi Tai Tong Glom, which are ghosts of women who died giving birth, who lost their child at the same time. And they're pretty, full on. Those who believe and know about ghosts of this nature will warn that they are very hard to get rid of. Where one cannot commit to exorcism, you've got to actually use a protection amulet that may be able to, gap or stop to a certain degree any potential. Hang on a minute. I'll call you back. I'm doing a live stream. Okay, sorry. The amulet, protection amulet. Yeah. Boggles sounds like a Harry Potter thing. The boggle, from where we get the phrase boogeyman. Here we go.
Okay.
You've heard of the boogeyman? These are entities with a temper, and they dislike children. Especially those who are lazy, commit crimes, or disobey their mothers. Boggles strike households by teasing and tricking people, driving them more angry and unstable, or possibly even insane. These are some who believe that boggles are a type of fairy and therefore can't really be removed from the house. They can only be appeased. Yep.
A fairy?
A fairy. The boogeyman is a fairy. Yep. Growing up or being more obedient to one's family would be the boggles recommended approach. Leaving gifts out for boggles or the boogeyman will not work, as such gifts only create more clutter, which the boogeyman will object to.
My word.
Here we go. And then we have lemures or lemures. Lemures are shades and spirits out for revenge. They wander the earth and will come to haunt houses they have no previous association with. The supposed cries and nocturnal activities of dreadful lemurs are the inspiration for the name lemur. Lemurs are cute, active at night, and primates native to Madagascar. Lemurs are formless and associated with darkness. In ancient Roman times, the head of the household would throw black beans out the doorway without looking at midnight to distract evil lemurs. It was believed that the spirits would feast on the beans as a substitute for life source.
Oh, good.
Borlotti beans, also known as Roman beans, are native to Mediterranean but are not naturally black. Black turtle beans are the ones that work well in Latin American cuisine. So there you go. There's another one. Then we have the quad possessorant. The translation of quad possessorant from Latin to English is simply possessed object. It may well be the case that the entity causing a disturbance in the house is neither associated with the location or any of the people in it. The horror may be associated with a particular item. Haunted items are fairly common. It's possible to find tens of thousands of listings for haunted items, for example, on eBay. And given any time, though most do not call the haunted dolls, they're nothing more than a seller's attempt to earn extra pennies, of course. We all know that. In most cases, the cure is straightforward. Get rid of the item. This isn't always the case. Sometimes the item will fight back. Other cases of quad possessorant require the items to be disposed of in a special way, often straightforward. If it's unpleasant in the method, remove the spirit, so that way it's a gift to the haunted object or somebody else. So that would be submersing often in water the haunted object, because what it does, it drowns that energy. It puts it into a completely different element altogether. And by submersing, I should say, a object that is said to be haunted in water, it dispels it, and then you just pour it down the sink or something like that. So that way it's gone. So there we go. You don't have to burn things. Pure spirit. Pure spirit. So we've got 10 entities, but in pure terms of spirit, most spirits are pure energy anyway. So technically, you're dealing with something that is made up of energy. So you don't need to use anything to amplify that energy, because it's amplified in itself. It can just think about being stronger, and it's stronger. So it's really important when you're dealing with spirits that you ask it to identify itself. I just had one put its hand around the corner. I just caught it. It's probably Chris, if anything. So wasn't that interesting to find out about that?
I thought I'd heard it all.
Yes, Earth to Karen. So I hope you've enjoyed the live stream. I hope you've learned something from the live stream. Play it back on certain areas and see what you might have experienced in your home. So there we go. So this is important. When you've got a particular type of haunting, you've got to know what type of haunting you've got. Don't ever try to interact with a residual haunting. That's all I can say, because you're not going to get any response. You're going to, it's like running a film on a reel. A film will not interact with you unless the actors are doing it live, but they're not. It's so many people actually say how sad it is that there's a residual haunting, that they're going through the same thing. It's like they're repeating it over and over, and it sounds sad, but they're not physically doing it. That soul's moved on. So what you've got is a snapshot in history that is running through like a wormhole, like a wormhole reel. And it's going over and over things that, have been and done. It's taking a photo or capturing a video of some sort. So if you think about a video, you can't interact with the video, correct? So there we go. That's what it's all about. So hopefully that tonight's show has been useful to people. It's giving you food for thought. It's giving you more understanding also about the boogeyman. Be kind to mother.
Yeah.
Be kind. So there we go. Any questions?
Not from my end, no. I'm going to have to get my door moves.
Well, thank you for joining Pumpkin Joanne. I'm glad that you liked the show. Thank you for those that joined. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up if you want to hear some more topics. I'm going to do a little bit more research. I'm going to look into different types of discussions. I want to keep it interesting and informative. And if you've got any suggestions, once this live stream ended,
Find out more about Santa Morta or whatever her bloody name is. I don't think I pronounced it right.
Let me write that down.
In Mexico, anyway, the Mexican god or goddess that helped you get your packages across the border. But it's big over there, really big, really big. Yeah, they
so she's better than Express Post.
I guess so. But yeah, she's kind of scary looking, but she's, this big trade over there for buying statues of her and, blessing and all that kind of thing.
So drug dealers use her.
Yeah, and gangsters, the cartel, that kind of stuff. But the diehard Christians will go into the shops saying, "Look, you want to not worship this deity, come to Jesus."
Santeria.
Yeah.
Santeria.
Is that the name?
Santeria.
There you go.
Liz has got down Santeria. So we'll have a look into Santeria.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, this would be quite interesting. I just thought we talk about spirits and communication and stuff like that, but we don't really talk about spirits.
Yeah.
So if we start to if we start to get, a idea of what types of spirits are out there and so on, and their names and what their purpose is, it might actually help us. So Santeria, we've got Santa Mert,
Might be, there's so many. I don't know. I looked at it a long time ago, like nearly a decade ago, when I come across it. So I was always intrigued by, praying for Santa Claus, praying to not so many entities to get you with them. Kind of odd.
I was about to say Santa Claus. So yeah. So maybe next week we can talk about some of our, like Christmas hauntings and stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah, I think everyone knows this, but I had Christmas carols sung to me on 2015. That was so bizarre. That was so strange and loud as well. Creepy as well. I never heard Silent Night sung in such a way. I'll never forget that. So, yeah, very, very bizarre. Very bizarre.
Yeah, well, if you're sitting on the toilet and you're hearing that, I'd be a bit worried.
Yeah, I thought, Christmas carolers, I thought, hang on, it's midnight. We've never had Christmas carolers. You come to a landing, you realise the voice is emanating above you rather than down by the front door. And when it stopped as well, because I was listening intently, really, what the hell? And it just stopped. The deafening silence was just that must have been pretty loud then. Oh, dear. I'm glad to have experienced stuff like that because, it does show that whatever these things are, they do exist, It wasn't a thing of my imagination, especially when I woke up Natalie and we heard another voice. I can't really describe it. A noise straight after, and she heard it as well. And we thought, bloody hell. Just stay under the do, though. We're not going down there. But, yeah.
What was that? Sorry to say, Karen hasn't interacted with any of us. I was interacting. I missed a few. I was reading some of the notes. What did I miss? This was from Pumpkin Joanne.
Yeah.
What did I miss? Tell me what I've missed. Let me go into my pop-out chat.
I can't see. idea.
Okay.
What's the time I've got to go in a minute anyway? I've got to go in 4 minutes.
Hang on. Okay, so I'll just see what this comment is or the message. So every time I'd go to look at chat, I'd be seeing, you know, people saying hello to each other or goodbye to each other or that type of thing. And so, Karen, can you please answer my question? It will mean a lot. Okay. All right. Where's your question? Let me just go back.
I'll have to retype it. It might be easier.
It
is hard.
Yeah, there are some things that don't say. Yeah, can you retype that, please, if you wouldn't mind, your question? I wouldn't be intentionally ignoring anybody, but I've only got a certain amount of space on my screen to look at everything, and every time I was glancing over at the thing, because I had to go over to my notes, so to try and keep on track.
3 or 4 different windows open, haven't you? See, the chat on my phone flashes in. I've got to press a button to read it, so mine's hard enough to keep up with.
All right, so here it is. When you pass and your first wife, husband has passed, what happens with their new when their new partner passes? When you pass and your first wife or husband has passed, what happens when their new partner passes?
So what she's trying to say is, I think, you know, like when like your first husband dies or whatever, your first thing, and then when you die, you're meant to meet up, aren't you, afterwards? Or what happens if you get a new partner and, you know, what's to happen then? Because now you've got 3 in a row, you're 3 in a room or whatever.
Well, technically, let's put it this way. Your other half doesn't just die and that's it, okay? They would be seeing that your life has carried on. A lot of times they have actually brought about that new situation. There are many spirits out there, and this is what's really hard to believe. I even went through, I'll give you a good example. When my mother passed away, I thought it was incredible that, you know, less than a year or so later, my stepfather marries somebody else. I thought it was way too soon. I was angry. I was like, what the hell? And then speaking with my mother, she said, no, this is what I wanted. He was lonely. I knew he needed to be with somebody, and I made this help, you know, I helped with this situation, this meeting. And she said, I'm okay with that. Now, I think what she's asking here, if I'm wrong, is when they finally get to the other side, is there still going to be that bond? Is there still going to be that bond? Is it like bigamy that's happening, that type of thing? Technically speaking, I feel that when you're over on the other side, there is no stresses or worries like we have here. All that is gone. This is all. It's like just being peaceful, just being. You don't.
You can interact with the other people, so to say, but there's no need to be.
There's not going to be any jealousy or anger or feuding, because on the other side, it's not. They realize they're at that point in their life where they realize there is more to life than fussing or being petty over things. So I really don't. I mean, from what my experience has been, even with when I've had spirits that have, you know, come through and their other half sitting there having a reading with me, and they're married, and I'm like, okay, I've got a spirit hanging around. They're saying that they were married to you or whatever, and this person's married to somebody else, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. I'm almost at the point where I don't want to say anything because I don't want to look a fool if this is not right. So
yeah.
they end up saying, yes, that's right, I was married before, or what have you. But that spirit is okay. They're fine with it. And from what I've actually found, even when my mother passed over and she met up with my dad, you know, she at one point wouldn't even talk about my father to me. But now here they are dancing with each other. You know, they're interacting. The soul is not weighed down with earthly worries like it is in this world. A lot of our insecurities and so on are to do with physical things happening in our life. And if you're worried about, you know, if there's someone on the other side and you go over there, if you've like say you've got another partner and then they end up dying and then you're all there together, I don't feel as though there's really going to be any separation. There's no separation. In fact, you'll probably find, if anything, that spirit of the first person who died has had a great hand in you meeting somebody else. The last thing they want is for you to feel lonely, because they know that you're not being spiritually satisfied being alone. They wouldn't want you to be alone. From what I have actually experienced. I mean, I was surprised with my mother, of all the people, because my mother, I'll be honest with you, she was a very possessive type of person. My stepfather couldn't look sideways without my mother, you know, who you perving on or feeling insecure, very insecure, but that was my mother. And so it took me aback when she said that she knew. Like, it was like she said, I've never had so much clarity in all my life until I died. And her clarity is beyond. It's like she suddenly has an awareness that it's not all about her. You know, when we stop living in this world, we realize it's not about us anymore. It's about people we love and people we care for. And I'm sure that once they're on the other side, they're going to be connecting with their loved ones anyway. And there will still be unity in some form, but there's no, and this is another thing too, people seem to get this idea that there's a lot of sexual relations going on in the afterlife. It's, from what I've heard from spirit, there's nothing, they don't need that. Sex is like, it's a physical thing. It's not a spiritual thing. There's another fulfillment that is accompanying spirit, and it's not anything to do with sex. So this is where I feel probably there's a bit of, you know, concern about that with Joanne. So hopefully, Joanne, that's helped you. Thank you so much for that. I'm sorry I didn't see your answer. I wouldn't have intentionally gone and ignored you. And the print's really small. I'm definitely going to have to get glasses. So, but I really do hope that that has helped you and given you some understanding about, you know, I can only tell you what I've been told. I can't tell you, you know, this is all for a fact. Yeah. But my mother, from what she has told me, and she was the last person I expected, you know, she actually brought my stepfather, his current life partner, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, so has that helped you, Joanne? Has that given you understanding? I hope so.
Oh, you got to go now, unfortunately. I'm sort of pushing the times
okay.
It is. Right. Thank you, everyone,
all right. Well,
for nice comments as well. I mean, I've received some really, really nice comments. I'll keep you up to date with Natalie, and yes, I'll be doing some sessions soon. I just sort of haven't been thinking about that at the moment, but obviously, you know. So, but yeah, I'll catch you. Right, 3 options tomorrow, 4 options. Okay, so if you want to catch me tomorrow, I'm either going to be on a channel called Miss Steam, So this is all at 11 o'clock tomorrow UK time. Miss Steam's channel, I'll be there. We are talking about heart progress, which isn't an easy subject, but they're making a big thing on fake book, and we'll be discussing that. If it's not for you, don't put yourself for it, for God's sakes. Miss Steam's channel, or I might be on Irish Stevo's channel. Irish Stevo says he misses our chats or something, so he's either going to be with Miss Steam, or I'll be on his channel. Or third option, I'll just be on my regular channel. Or fourth option, BT have cut me off because I got a big discrepancy at the moment. They're charging me for things that I shouldn't really be charged for, and I'm protesting about it. Blah. It's a long-winded story. So I might. They have threatened, don't sort this. We're going to cut it off. So I've done. I'll give you some, but I don't agree with where you've been. I was cut off for 4 hours, and they've charged me for a reconnection fee for 4 hours being cut off, which I think is disgusting. But it's a long-winded story as to why I got as well. And yeah, 4 hours worth being cut off equals like a 30 quid charge, which is not on. But yeah, long story. I can't be asked to go into it. Don't need to go into it. That's between me and them. But yeah, so 3 channels: Miss Steam, Irish Stevo, or my channel. Look out for it. And if none of them are about, well, BT have been twats, haven't they? But that's another story.
So what was that first one? Steam.
MISS space Steam, as in steam from a kettle. Miss Steam.
Miss Steam. Okay.
Yeah, she's a steampunk goth type person.
I don't think I've seen that.
She's done a lot of heart progress and debated them and all the rest of it, and she's she just offered me to because I've had experience with heart progress as well. So we got a couple of them actually locked up, not permanently, but investigated, and they're thrown in jail for a small time over in USA because Mrs. Magnitude basically passed on the information to the NSPCC in this country, and we are relayed back. Yeah, a few of them have been locked up. Whether they have gone to court and going to be actually properly put in prison, we don't know. We're not gonna know that. They're not going to tell us, but we are, So that was kind of good. But obviously, I had, the main guy, Per the Ernie, as I call him, come to one of my live streams and debate with me why it's okay for a 4-year-old to consent when clearly that is impossible, And it was a pretty weird live stream, but we'll be talking about that basically. But I say, if it's not, it does affect a lot of people. It's an issue I don't even like talking about.
I will try. I can't promise, because usually when you're on, it's really like 4 o'clock in the morning for me or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Time zones are a bitch. I know that. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You come on. I'm just saying, if you want to look out for me, I'm on one of those 3 channels.
I'll try and have a look.
Myself,
Okay, excellent. So I do want to say thank you to everybody who partook in the live stream, and if you had asked any questions and I didn't see them, it wasn't intentional. I had to flip between screens and everything to try and read my notes and keep on track, because I'm only allotted a certain amount of time with order. And here is like 10 o'clock when I start in the evening, and it's already 11:30 at night. So, but if I missed it, I'm sorry. But as I said, I really do hope, Joanne, that helped you. As I said, I can only tell you what, I was told by my mother as a good example, which I feel may be a way of answering that question. Hello, Austin Paranormal. Thanks for joining. Sorry it's so late. And also, what was I going to say? Oh, yes, Rachel put up a video of it snowing in Texas, and it was so pretty. It's so pretty. Grass and the trees had snow on it, but just be careful you don't slip over, Rachel.
We always miss that kind of stuff over here. I mean, like we had hurricanes and bad storms. We might have snow here, but being in Wiltshire, we miss all of that. It's probably a good thing, but we always miss the extreme weather where I am. It's just
I personally have never seen snow. I have never seen snow in all my 60 years. Up in the mountains, they get snow, and but I couldn't be stuffed driving up there, when it's snowing, to be honest with you. But it's, you're not the only one who hasn't seen it. So I haven't. I've seen a lot of hail. We had a really bad storm. But anyway, thank you again, everyone, for joining. I'll catch you all next week. I'll catch you all next week. And hopefully you've got some good news with Natalie to share.
It's Thursday, isn't it? I'll do a video before Thursday, you know, etc. But Thursday's when it is anyway. So next Thursday even. All right, toodaloo. See you later.
Bye.
Bye everyone. You'll have to let me go. I think I can't find the bloody button. It's always happens. Where's it gone?